Good morning or good afternoon, Harris Garrard Academy students. I'm really excited to be talking to you today about what I think is one of the most important topics that you can learn about during your time at school, and that is about careers. So I would like to welcome you to your careers assembly, and I really hope you enjoy it. So why am I looking forward to discussing this with you today? First of all, I'm looking forward to discussing with you having high aspirations. Why should we have high aspirations or high ambitions? 2, how to start considering your future career path. 3, understanding your personality and how this can help you to determine your career. 4, what careers resources are available to you at Harris Garrard Academy. And 5, why learning about careers is important. That is something that I will be addressing throughout this presentation, as well as at the end as well. To start off then, the first question I want to ask ourselves is this: why is it important to have high aspirations? And I'm going to introduce you to a video clip here. This video clip involves someone called Dupree. He is about to have an interview for a job. Dupree is honest, he is confident, and he is upbeat. I would like you to watch his interview really carefully, and then I'm going to ask you some questions about it that I would like you to discuss in your tutor groups.
You describe yourself, Mr. Dupree. I'm a people. So why don't you describe yourself, Mr. Dupree? I'm a people person. I'm very personable. I absolutely insist on enjoying life. Not so task-oriented. I'm not a workhorse. If you're looking for a Clydesdale, I'm probably not your man. Like, I don't live to work. It's more the other way around. I work to live. Incidentally, what's your policy on Columbus Day? We work. Really? The guy discovered the New World. Afraid to even ask about victory over Japan Day. Hey, we tried, right? My resume.
Okay, so hopefully you had a chance to watch and listen to that very, very carefully. I'd now like to ask you 3 questions about the video that you just watched. Number 1, why do you think Dupree didn't get the job? Because it is pretty obvious that he did not. Number 2, how would you describe his career aspirations? And number 3, what impression do you think an employer would get from meeting him? What I'm now going to ask your tutors to do is to pause this video for around 4 minutes to discuss these questions with their tutor groups and come up with some answers to them. Thank you. Okay, so hopefully you've had a chance to discuss those questions and come up with some answers. I now want to discuss with you, why do you think it's important to have high aspirations? Again, I'm now going to ask your tutors to pause this video for a second time. And for 2 or 3 minutes, I'm going to ask you to now discuss this question and come up with some answers. Why do you think it is important to have high aspirations? Thank you. Okay, so hopefully in your tutor groups, you have had a chance to discuss this question and come up with some really good answers. I'm gutted that I can't actually be there in an assembly or in a tutor room to hear those answers and hear those discussions, but perhaps some of the answers that you came up with were ones like this. Perhaps having aspirations, high aspirations, is more likely to make you successful, not necessarily just at school, in your education, your exams, but also obviously in your career, but also any sort of part of life. No matter what you set your mind to, if you have high aspirations, you are more likely to be successful. If you have high aspirations to be good at your hobbies like sport, you're more likely to be successful at them. If your aspirations are to be a good friend or a good family member, you are more likely to be successful. Is it having high aspirations in any area, regardless of what it is, you are more likely to be successful. Maybe having high aspirations leads to a higher salary. If that is your ultimate goal in life, if your ambition is to earn as much money as possible, and many people do have that ambition, not everyone, but high aspirations can help you to have a higher salary. It is pretty common sense to suggest if you have low aspirations and low ambitions in life, you're not going to get a job that pays a high salary if that is what is important to you. Perhaps you suggested that it would make you more likely to achieve your dream job. If you had high aspirations and succeeded early on, that would help you to achieve the job that you know that you are absolutely set on doing when you are older, if you are in a position to do that now. Many of you will not have really thought about what your dream job is, and I don't blame you. Some of you may have. Perhaps having high aspirations will give you a greater choice of career options later on. If you have high aspirations now, you may try to be good at lots of different things and therefore keep your options open and have lots of choices later on. So if you leave school, leave university, or whatever choice you choose to follow after college, you would have a greater range of jobs or careers that you could go into. Perhaps some of you said it would help you to develop a broad range of skills and talents. This is very much linked to the previous point, but if you have high aspirations, you'll be more keen and more enthusiastic to develop your skills, your talent in a range of different areas, not just one thing or two things, but lots of different things. So, what should the first step be in choosing your career? I just said that I would be surprised if all of you did have an idea of what your dream job is. And I don't blame you, because you are very young and this is an incredibly difficult decision to make. Many people leave school, many people leave university, not truly knowing what job or career they want to follow. So if you have a look at the screen for me, the first step is that you need to understand yourself. And this takes a lot of different forms. If you look on the right-hand side of this screen, there is a checklist. I would like you to write this checklist down, and I would like you to spend time this week, next week, and pretty much every week considering this checklist. What subjects do you like to do? What are your favorite subjects? What are you best at? How can you improve your performance in subjects that you like the most? And how can these be used to determine your career? What other interests do you have? What are your hobbies? Do you like to play sport? Employers look for a range of interests beyond schoolwork. Taking part and succeeding in activities such as sport demonstrates that you can work well with others, a very important part of many jobs. What actually motivates you? What excites you? Do you look for fame, status, high earnings, or would you gain more satisfaction from helping others in the community? Do you seek excitement and challenge in your life, or are stability, freedom, and comfort more valuable? What motivates you and drives you should determine the job that you would like to do. What skills do you have? This is very much linked to your subjects and your hobbies and what motivates you. But whether you're still at school or already gaining work experience, think about the skills you have developed. You may be highly creative, you may be a great communicator, or you have advanced IT skills. You may be good at problem solving or excel at working with your hands. All of these things could determine what job you would like to do. Last of all, what are your personal qualities? While you might be able to learn new skills to pursue your career, it's far more difficult to change your personality. Think about what kind of person you are and ask others to describe how they see you. Choosing a job that fits your personality will make you happier in your career and far more likely to be an effective employee. So as I said, I'd like you to take a moment to write down that checklist and really think about those key areas and how they could potentially influence your career choices or start getting you thinking about careers. So I'm just going to leave that on the screen for 10 seconds. Okay, the next section of this assembly is asking ourselves, can your personality help to determine your career path? So we've just talked about this, and I'd now like to do a bit of a game or a test that's going to determine what your personality is. And that is then going to allow us to really consider what your characteristics are, what your strengths are, what your areas of development are as a person, and how can that potentially influence or help us to decide what career path or what industry is the right one for us. And by that logic, which career paths or industries are definitely not the right ones for us, which careers just don't interest us at all, don't excite us, and we don't want to follow those. So, how to determine your personality type? Ultimately, experts say that there are 4 dimensions of personality type. By estimating the dimensions of your personality, you will end up with a 4-letter code during this test or this game. For most of you, that code that you are going to create will represent your personality type or one that is very close to it. So I'm essentially going to look at 4 dimensions of your personality here, and they are on the screen now. First of all, how we interact with the world and where we direct our energy. And you can either be split into something called extroverts or introverts here. 2, the kind of information we naturally notice. Those people can be divided into sensing or intuition. 3, how we make decisions. Based on how we make decisions, you can be split into 2 groups, thinking and feeling. And last of all, whether we prefer to live in a more structured way, i.e. making decisions, or in a more spontaneous way, taking in information. Those people are split into 2 groups, judging and perceiving. We're going to look at each of these dimensions now, and I'm going to give you a list, a range of scenarios or descriptions, and I want you to use those to determine your personality type. Once you think you have decided which personality type most fits you, I would like you to write down that letter. I would also like form tutors and any teacher who is also watching this to also give it a go and write down the letter that best describes you, because you also might find something out about yourself that you didn't know before. So, personality type 1 is extroverts and introverts. The first dimension of personality type concerns how we prefer to interact with the world and where we direct our energy. Each of us has a natural preference for either the outer or inner world, although by necessity, we all function in both. We call those who prefer the outer world extroverts, and those who prefer the inner world introverts. So, with all that jargon, I just want you to perform a very simple task now. I want you to read each list, extroverts on the left, introverts on the right. Once you've decided which list, which set of criteria most accurately describe you, I would like you to write down the letter E if you are more of an extrovert, or the letter I if you are more of an introvert. Form tutors, could I please ask you to pause this video for 2 minutes to allow your form tutors to read through each list, decide which one most fits their personality, and to write down either the letter E or the letter I. Once again, form tutors, please have a go yourselves. Okay, so we should have had time to read those lists and write down one of those letters to show our personality type here. Sensing and intuition. The second dimension of personality type concerns the kind of information we naturally notice. Sensors concentrate on what can be seen, heard, felt, smelled, or tasted. They trust whatever can be measured or documented and focus on what is real and concrete. Intuitives are more interested in meanings, relationships, and possibilities based on facts than in the facts themselves. You could say these people trust their 6th sense, intuition, more than their other 5. So once again, form tutors, I'm going to ask you to pause the video, allow your form groups 2 minutes to read through each list, sensors on the left, intuitives on the right. Decide which list of characteristics most accurately represents your personality. And here, if you are more of a sensor, I would like you to write down the letter S. If you are more of an intuitive, I need you to write down the letter N. Please do not write down the letter I. You must write down the letter N. Thank you. Okay, so we should have had time to read the second set of criteria and write down our second letter, either an S or an N. Okay, the third dimension of personality type, thinking and feeling. This concerns the way in which we make decisions and come to conclusions. Thinkers prefer decisions that make sense logically. They pride themselves on their ability to be objective and analytical in the decision-making process. They make decisions by analysing and weighing the evidence, even if that means coming to unpleasant conclusions. Feelers make decisions based on how much they care or what they feel is right. They pride themselves on their ability to be empathetic and compassionate. So, form tutors, for the third time, I would like you to pause the video. I would like you to give your form groups a couple of minutes to read each list and write down the letter that most accurately describes their personality. If you are a thinker, please write down the letter T. If you are a feeler, please write down the letter F. Once again, form tutors, please also do the test yourself. Okay, the fourth and final dimension of your personality type. This concerns whether we prefer to live in a more structured way or in a more spontaneous way. And this is split into judging and perceiving. Judges tend to live in an orderly way and are happiest when their lives are structured and matters are settled. Judges seek to regulate and control life. Perceivers like to live in a spontaneous way and are happiest when their lives are flexible. They have a perceiving attitude and like to stay open to all kinds of possibilities. Perceivers seek to understand life rather than control it. So the final time, please, could we pause the video, read the two lists, judges and perceivers, decide which list most accurately represents your personality and write down either a J or a P. Okay, so by now, ladies and gentlemen, you should all have a 4-letter code, and this 4-letter code should roughly determine your personality type. For example, your 4-letter code may be ISTJ. Now, to find out more about your personality types, I would like you to go to the careers folder on the student SharePoint, and I'm going to show you how to get there in a moment. You'll be able to find out more about your personality and how that may influence your future. You may even find things out about yourself that you didn't realize before, your characteristics, your strengths, your weaknesses, or your areas of development. So just very quickly to show you where you can find this information. If I were to go to the student SharePoint, there is a folder called careers. Inside that folder, there is another folder called personality types. And there are now a series of documents, and this series of documents is titled with every 4-letter code that you could have come up with. For example, if you were I'm going to pick out the ENFP. So for those of you whose letters were ENFP, you would open up this document and you are described as extroverted, intuitive, feeling and perceiving. Here it talks about what kind of person you are. What are your strengths? For example, ENFPs are full of enthusiasm and new ideas, optimistic, spontaneous, creative and confident. They have original minds and a strong sense of the possible. What are your possible blind spots or your weaknesses, perhaps? Since they find it so easy to generate ideas, ENFPs have difficulty focusing on just one thing at a time and can have trouble making decisions. They see so many possibilities that they have difficulty selecting the best activity or interest to pursue. Now, there are so many different possible personality types, and there is a huge amount of information within each of these documents. So I do not have time, we do not have time to go through each one or to even read one fully. What I would like you to do, however, is to go to your document as I've just shown you. I would like you to open it up and I would like you to really carefully read it. I would like you to think about what the strengths are of that personality type. And I want you to think about, do they match up? Do they reflect your personality strengths? So you may read it and go, yeah, okay, that's definitely me. And you also might read it and say, wow, do you know what? I never actually thought about it like that, but that is also me. Or you may even want to show it to your family or your friends and get them to decide if it sounds like your personality. At the same time, it may help you to identify areas of development that you never considered or you had considered, but hadn't really ever thought about how to improve them or make them better. Last thing I want you to do with that document is I want you to think about how that can help you determine your career choice based on your personality, your characteristics, your strengths, your weaknesses. What kind of careers could that set you up for? Maybe you could potentially save a copy of that document and highlight the key bits, or take out, select, copy, paste, or summarize the key characteristics, strengths, weaknesses that you have found out. Form tutors, please do the same. Please also email me with your findings. Tell me what kind of personality type you have, what your strengths and weaknesses are. I'd be really keen to hear about them. So, what careers resources are available to you at this school? I've essentially shared 3 or 4 websites that you can use for careers, although these are obviously not the only ones. And there are a few others as well. First of all is the school website. If you were to go onto the Harris Garrard Academy website, and I'm going to click on it right now, you could go to the careers section. And in the careers section, you will find what I think is probably the most important part of this page, which is the labour market information part, where, and this is updated on a regular basis, so this is completely up to date. If you were to click on one of these squares, you could click a job and it will give you information about it. For example, if you were to click on this, I'm going to type in law. If you perhaps wanted to become a legal associate professional, any sort of legal profession, if you wanted to become a barrister or a judge, a solicitor, and so on. So I'm going to click on solicitor, and it gives me a whole load of information about solicitors. Solicitors can earn up to £870 a week on average, with roughly £45,000 per year. They can obviously earn less, they can obviously earn a lot more. I know some solicitors who earn huge amounts per year. So maybe if you are interested in law or you want to have a very high salary, this could be an area for you. You can look at what workforce change there is. You might find this job in legal accounting, public admin and defence, and so on. There's also a section on more info where you can find about the common tasks of this job. Draw up contracts, leases, wills, and other legal documents, undertake legal business, etc. Okay, so that is one area where you can find out lots of information about careers. Second is the Harris Federation website. Here, this gives you a huge amount of information on sixth form, higher education, the world of work and training, news and events, job opportunities, and so on. For example, if I were to click on job opportunities, it comes up with a huge number of apprenticeships, workshops, programs that you can click on, get information on, and apply to. There's a huge number of resources. Every single one of you should be looking at this daily or weekly. Virtual careers, fairs, and so on. Next is the UCAS website. Now, this will be mainly directed at year 11s and sixth form, but there's no reason why every single student could not go on the UCAS website. And this is why. It is not just used to apply for university. And some of you may think, I do not want to go to university, I want to go for an apprenticeship or some sort of vocational course, and that's absolutely fine. But you can still use the UCAS website because it has a huge amount of information and opportunities in a huge number of areas. For example, there is the page on finding an apprenticeship, if that is the career path that you want to follow after school. And there are apprenticeships in every single sector, in every single part of the UK and the wider world. There is also obviously huge amounts of information on universities and student accommodation. There is also information on careers, helping you find your dream job. Finally, there is a website that, again, many of the year 11s and sixth form will be familiar with because you have your logins for this already, but we are also in the process of arranging for the rest of the school to get their logins. This is Unifrog. Unifrog is a brilliant resource for giving you information about the various different job types, qualifications, online workshops, virtual events, work experience, MOOCs, which are online qualifications that you can get. That there are huge amounts that are available to you. For example, if you were to click on Careers Library, you would be able to type in a certain keyword relating to a career, or you could type in the school subjects that you are most interested in, and it will direct you to the careers that are most likely to either satisfy you or you are likely to be good at. For example, if you are very science orientated, you could type in biology, maths, and chemistry, and it would come up with jobs that are most suited to those subjects. Underneath that, you have got a huge number of careers based on those subjects and themes as well. For example, if you were very much interested in engineering, you could type on engineering, and there are over 200 pages dedicated to giving you information as well as opportunities dedicated towards engineering. Finally, there is tutor time. Now, during tutor time in Harris News, you will have already seen that each week there have been careers resources given to you to provide you with opportunities and types of jobs that you may be willing or wanting to do. Each week, we are going to be trying to provide you with certain jobs in a particular industry. Moving forward, we're really hoping to pick an industry each term, or 2 industries each half term, and each week showing you 2 or 3 jobs within those industries, what the skills are that are needed for those jobs, what the salaries are, the hours, what kind of personality you should have. Okay. Finally, your teachers. You cannot just speak to myself or Miss Brader or the careers officer. Every single teacher is a teacher of careers at this school, and your teachers are incredibly motivated, ambitious, intelligent people. They would not be in their jobs if they were not, and they therefore have a wealth of advice and guidance that they can give to you. So if you are interested in careers that are related to a certain subject, go and speak to your teachers. If you want to become a writer, speak to your English teachers about it. If you want to become an engineer, like we just said, speak to your maths teacher. If you wish to become a doctor, speak to your science teachers, and so on. Okay, every single teacher at this school is a teacher of careers, and we are all incredibly eager to discuss with you your career path, your opportunities, your capabilities for the future. Okay, the final question that I wanted to ask you in this assembly, and the last thing that I want you to think about, is this: why is careers such an important part of your education? Why have I been banging on about you for the last 10-15 minutes about your personality type and how that can determine your career and so on? And whenever I think about that question, I always think about what is one of my absolutely favorite quotes, and it's by a man named Salvador Dali. And he said, "Intelligence without ambition is a bird without wings." And I think this is so true. If you imagine a bird without wings, it is a bird that cannot fly. It is essentially a very sad, almost useless thing. A bird without wings, a bird that cannot fly and perform the most amazing thing that birds are able to do. And I think intelligence and education is exactly like that. It does not matter how intelligent you are. It does not matter how brilliant your education is. If you do not have ambition, if you do not have high aspirations, then that intelligence and that education is essentially wasted. So I would like you to think really, really carefully about that quote. This week, this month, this year, in fact, for your entire lives, I wish you would remember that quote. Intelligence without ambition is a bird without wings. Write it down, stick it on your wall, put it on your desk, look at it all the time. I want you to be ambitious, be aspirational, and also be resilient, because as you go through life, as you go through school, as you start to look for jobs and apply for jobs later on, not everything is going to happen for you immediately. And that is okay. So whilst it is important to be aspirational and ambitious, it is important to be resilient. It is important to be able to take setbacks and to overcome them, and to work to overcome challenges where you are faced with them. Last of all, I would like to remind you of our school mantra: learning changes lives, because fundamentally it does. Everything that you do at school, everything that you learn at school is going to change your life for the better later on. So I hope you've really, really enjoyed this assembly. I know I certainly have enjoyed presenting it to you. I'm really sad that I didn't get to do it in person. However, I'm really glad that I got to speak to you about it today. So I hope you all keep safe, keep looking after yourselves, have a fantastic week, and please, please, please have a good think about what I've discussed with you today. Discuss with your friends, your teachers, your families. What is your 4-letter code? What is your personality type, your characteristics, strengths, weaknesses? How could that potentially determine your future career path? Thank you.